Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Desktop Central Training. I thank everyone for joining today's webinar session in the busy schedule. Let me introduce myself. My name is Abraham Zebaraj. I'm a product specialist in endpoint management solutions with ManageEngine. I'll be the presenter for today's webinar. Let's have a quick look at the training schedule. As you all know, this is a 5-week training series. Now we are in the 3rd week of the training schedule. And today's topic is the asset management in Desktop Central. Now, all the trainings will be recorded and it can be easily accessed from the below mentioned URL, desktopcentral.com training.html. In case if you missed the previous training modules, you can very well access it from the link. Even the registered participants will be receiving this recorded videos through email. Right. So before we move into the agenda of today, which is asset management, let's have a quick overview on Desktop Central. Desktop Central is an unified endpoint management solution which helps you in managing desktops, laptops, servers, mobile devices, and even POS devices, which runs in the all supported operating systems. So the traditional endpoint management solutions has some drawbacks and difficulties with the modern IT environment, which involves different types of devices and also the devices which travel outside the organization's network and all that. So this Desktop Central offers an umbrella approach to manage all the endpoints in an organization centrally and more efficiently. So this Desktop Central is called as Unified Endpoint Management Solution. In this UEM edition of Desktop Central, we offer all the Desktop Central features, which include software deployment, inventory management, patch management, and everything. Along with that, we will also provide OS deployment and modern management for Windows 10 devices, such as remote wipe, geo-tracking of the Windows 10 devices and all that. And of course, the NDM part will also be included. In case if you like to know more about it, you can visit this below URL, ManageEngine.com products/Desktop Central to know more about this. Here are the supported versions of Desktop Central, supported operating systems of Desktop Central, and here are the versions of each operating systems. All right. So let's have a quick look at the architecture of Desktop Central. So Desktop Central is an on-premises solution, and it works as client-server model. So here is the architecture diagram of Desktop Central. Agents should be installed on all the client machines to manage them. So to install agents, there are different ways. You can install agents from the console directly, or you can use GPO group policy to install agent, or you can manually download the files and transfer to the client machines and install it, or you can also use some scripts to deploy the agent. Right, so after installing the agents, you will be able to manage the machines in LAN, WAN, and also the machines which are roaming all over the world, all over the different network. So the machines in LAN will be reporting to the Desktop Central server directly, and they will download all the jobs and the patches or whatever jobs that you create will be downloaded directly from the server. Likewise, when the machines are in WAN, you can group them as remote offices. And for the remote offices, you can have a distribution server allocated. So what is distribution server? For example, if you are managing more than 10 machines in a remote site, and if you have concerns in a bandwidth in that specific remote site, you can use this distribution server. So you can allocate one machine among this group as a distribution server. So after that, this client machines will not directly download the patches or jobs from the desktop central server directly. Instead, this distribution server alone will go to the main server and download the patches or the files required for the job and distribute them locally to the client machines. So this feature helps you in manage the bandwidth efficiently. Even roaming users who travel from one location to another all the time can be easily managed using this desktop central. So to achieve this, you can enable NAT on a desktop central, network address translation, or you can also place your desktop central server in DMZ, which is demilitarized zone. I presume everybody knows about DMZ. It's where you can place your server in secure hosting. If you do not wish to place your desktop central server in DMZ directly, then you can utilize the component called Secure Gateway, so which is an additional tool that you can install and you can place it on DMZ. So this Secure Gateway server acts like a proxy server between the agents in remote offices and the roaming agents to the desktop central server. Any communication from the remote office machines and the roaming agents will be routed only through this Secure Gateway. So this ensures that communication is secure, and also your desktop central server will be in a secure location. All right, so these are the components of desktop central. So we have already discussed about server, agent, and the distribution server. And the notification server plays another important role in any on-demand task. So it's a component inbuilt and which will run as a service in both the agent and on the server. We'll discuss about this notification server later when we discuss about the scanning. And failover server. So this brings in an additional server which actually monitors the primary server and takes over the control if the primary server fails. So this ensures that your server is up and running all the time. So this eliminates the downtime in your business as well. All right, so 90 minutes refresh policy. The desktop central architecture is scalable to manage even larger networks up to 25,000 machines in a single instance. So this is possible because of this 90 minutes refresh policy that we use here. So what is this 90 minutes refresh policy? So every desktop central agent will be contacting the server for every 90 minutes. So this is called agent refresh cycle. So this feature ensures that all the computers in the network contact the server regularly. Two important factors are ensured here. One, network is not being choked by the agent-server communication, meaning bandwidth is not disturbed by the agent-server communication. And also the performance of the server is not getting affected at any time. So this desktop central server itself has an intelligence to slice down the number of computers that can communicate to them for a minute. For example, in a network of 90 computers, one computer will reach out the desktop central server every minute. And also in a network of 900 computers, 10 computers will reach out the server per minute. For a larger network, let's say 900 computers, 9,000 computers more. And so 100 computers will reach the desktop central server per minute. So using this feature, agents can communicate to the desktop central server without any hesitation or issues. All right, so here are the ports used by desktop central. So this port has to be opened on your server. Predominantly, the communication is inbound to the server. So for example, the voice and video chat is one of the features associated with this product, works in the port, UDP port, which is 8443. Agent server communication happens on port 8020, and agent to server notification happens on port 8027, and agent server communication can happen securely on port 8383 as well. So to know more about the ports, you can visit this URL, desktopcentral.com/port /ports. Right. Instead of hosting the Desktop Central server in a physical server, physical machine, or AWS or VM machine, you can also place the Desktop Central server in AWS or Azure instance. So there are advantages placing the server in a cloud platform. For example, if you are a managed service provider, if you need to manage multiple customers' environment, so placing the server in Azure or the AWS, which is in the cloud, will be an advantage for you. And it's also a cost-effective solution, so you can avoid hardware infrastructure maintenance costs as well. And managing roaming users will be a very easier method in this cloud-based architecture. At the moment, Desktop Central is currently available as on-premise solution, but we will be releasing the cloud version very soon. Yeah. So in case if you have any queries on the architecture that we discussed, please share your queries through this chat. We have an expert panel available who can answer your questions. All right. So let's move on to today's topic, which is asset management. So we have a very large customer base who contributes to our community. So with the help of them, we are categorizing the applications as a commercial applications automatically. So right now we have around 13,000 and growing applications supported by Desktop Central. Right. So here is the agenda of today's training, which is on asset management. So we'll start with the overview and architecture of asset management, and we'll see how it works in the background and all that. And so this whole webinar is designed based on problem solution approach. So I have taken 4 real-time examples to discuss on the features. Number one, we'll see how Desktop Central Asset Management helps in managing licenses of the applications. And also we'll see how we can control the usage of unauthorized applications, how to get some useful reports for my audit, how to proactively monitor something to resolve some issues. And followed by that, we'll be discussing on a few other interesting scenarios and solutions that we came across in our support experience as well. So we'll also be discussing few commonly asked questions by end of this presentation. Meantime, if you have questions, you can post the questions in chat. All right. So first, why do enterprise need an asset management solution? Generally, asset management is required to manage all hardware, software, and also to trace all IT assets in your organization. For example, this may be used to find the number of hardwares and softwares installed and its types, and the warranty details, software license details, license expiry, warranty expiry, and to trace whether someone is using unauthorized applications, what kind of applications they are using, and the versions of it, and also to export some comprehensive reports for my audit purpose and all that. So we'll move on and discuss about the asset management and its features in detail. All right. So now we will move on to discuss about the architecture of asset management. So here's the architecture diagram of asset management. As we discussed before, we need to install agents on the client machines first to manage them. So as soon as you install agents on the client machines for the very first time, 2 scans will be automatically happening. One is patch scan, another is asset scan. As we are into the asset management module, we'll discuss about asset scan in detail. So asset scan is a very important factor in the asset management. So when a scan is performed for the first time after the agent installation, it takes the complete data of a computer, which includes the details like hardware, software, system information, warranty information, all the details will be collected over here. So this is called as full scan or complete scan. So all the details will be collected from the scratch. So this is for the first cycle, okay? So moving further, you can initiate scans further on the next day or in the next minute or in the next hour from the server or from the agent. So there are two ways you can initiate the scan. So these types of scans are called on-demand scans. So when you initiate this on-demand scan, the request will be sent to the client machines. The client machines will run the scan and post the status to the server. But this time, it will not post the complete data again. It instead will compare the data with the old data posted to the server and the new data, and it will only going to post the differential data to the server. So this will reduce the bandwidth utilized in posting the data to the server as well. Right. So this subsequent scans are called as differential scan, and so agent itself will do this comparison and post the data to it. So this scans can be automated as well through the schedules, right? Yeah, we'll discuss about how this practically works shortly. Right. So next is what kind of data are being collected during this scans. Right. So before we discuss on that, let me show you how scanning is going to work here. Okay. So this is the console of Desktop Central. So here I'm accessing the inventory module. So in the computers view, I can see all the computers with the Desktop Central agent installed. So here I can see the scanned computers. So I can see the computer details, computer name and everything, basic details. I can add the columns as well. So if I want to know what kind of data that we collect during the inventory scan, I can click on the computer name to view what kind of data. This is a summary. So we will see the OS license, whether it is activated or not, warranty details will be collected, and system details, user details, group details, driver details, and all this will be collected over here. And even hardware details, the complete hardware information will be collected with the help of the agent here. And similarly, software details, certificate details, file details, security details, like so what kind of antivirus you're using, whether the BitLocker is enabled or not, and patching, missing patches, firewall status, and even USB usage on the device will be traced, and history, right? So what kind of changes are happening, who has logged into that mission. So all those informations will be collected during the scan. Right, so these are all the data that we collect. But now, how do we collect this data? So for the inventory scan, we collect the data from the WMI and from the registry values, especially for the Windows. And for the Mac and Linux, we'll be running some scripts with the help of the agent, and we'll be collecting the data to it. So that's how the data from the machines are being collected for asset management. And all this data will be stored in our database, so you can export any kinds of reports out of it. All right. So is there a way that I can customize what data that I need to collect? Yes, you have an option to customize that as well. So here you have this option called scan settings. So here you can enable or disable this optional components that you want to scan. So certificate details, I can see what certificates that I need to collect, and the driver details. So if I enable the driver details, I'll be able to see all the driver details, the status of the drivers, the version of the drivers on each machines and all that. So that is customizable. Right. So do I need to manually run a scan every time or every day? No, that's not required. So you have an option here called schedule scan. So in this option, you have an option to schedule the inventory scan on a daily basis or weekly basis or monthly basis. So based on that, the inventory scan will collect the data, and the differential data will be automatically posted to the server. Similarly, we also have other option called file scan. So file scan can also be scheduled, but this can be scheduled on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. So what does this file scan do? Right. So file scan is going to collect the details of the files that we have on a machine. For example, if I click on a computer, I can show you what type of file details that we collect. So this is a Mac machine. Sorry, this is Ubuntu machine. Right, so here is the Windows machine. So in this, the file details, if you look at it, so these are all the details we collect, audio files. So these two types are considered as audio files, the total number and the size occupied by that. Similarly, you can add a rule to define what type of files that I need to scan. So you can define a rule and you can add the file extensions to trace only that specific extension. So only based on this rules that you create, the file scan will capture the data and post it to the server. So these are all the types of scans available, and this is how the scanning works on asset management. So if you guys have any questions on this scanning and asset management architecture, feel free to type your questions there on the chat. All right. So far we have seen the architecture of Desktop Central and the architecture of asset management and how scanning works and all that. So now we will move further and discuss on the features available in the asset management. So to explain these features easily, I have taken few real-time examples. So with the help of that, I will elaborate the features in detail. So here is the first use case that I have taken. So managing Office 365 licenses. So managing software licenses is one of the important aspects of asset management. So this helps an enterprise in being compliant, and also this helps in planning for the additional license purchase during the renewal process and all that. So let me first show you some basic details about license management before we move into the actual scenario that we have. Right, let me move back to the console again. So in the inventory module, you have this option called license management at the bottom. So this is the module here. Okay, so let's assume myself as an administrator. So I'm the one managing all the computers. So I have installed the applications to all the end users now. So now I need to allocate a license. Let's take Office 365. So I have installed Office 365 on all the machines now. So I can click on Add License now. I'm going to select Office 365 application from the list. Okay. For example, I'll select that. Right. So let me select this. So now I know how many licenses that I purchased for this specific application. So let's say that I'm giving the count as 90 or 20 or whatever it is. I'll give this name here, and I will enter the details of the license 2 details, the owner of the license, purchase date, expiry date, the license key. Even I can upload the license file for it. I can add some comments. I can associate the particular devices that I wanted to associate here, and I can save these details. Right. So once I save these details, since the Desktop Central already knows how many machines has the specific application installed, it is going to compare that number that I have provided with the actual installations and tell me the usage of the license. So for now, I have installed this licenses on 19 machines, and so all the licenses are occupied. So remaining is 0. So in that case, it is considered as in compliance. At the same time, if the total license purchased is lesser than the managed licenses, then the remaining will be in negative values. So it means it is under license. So that is all is defined over here. So when the number of license purchase is greater, it is over license. If it is equal, it is in compliance. If the number of installations is greater, then it is under licensed. So this is straightforward. You can export this kind of report for your license audit purpose as well. Right. In case if I wanted to import the license details for a large number of applications, I can do that as a bulk import by using this option, using import CSV option. A sample CSV file is there. You can prepare a sample CSV file with this format with all the details needed, and you can easily import the details by using this option. So automatically, the details, the license details will be imported into this license management console. So these are all the basic things that you need to understand about it. And even the group software is there in case if I have different versions of Adobe there. So my license that I purchased for Adobe will be like one single license for different packages of Adobe here. So I can click on I can click and add a group here, and I will give the name as Adobe, and I will add all the versions to it. Even if I have plans to install different versions of Adobe applications, so I will be selecting this option, use the wildcard character to append all other various versions of the same applications into this group. So for this group, you can also assign a license. So that is also feasible over here. So that's the basic things that you need to understand about license management. Coming back to the original scenario, right? So let's assume myself as an administrator now. So now I have assigned 19 licenses to all 19 users of Office 365 licenses to it. So my HR department calls me and informs me that there are around like 5 new employees are joining to the sales department, and they also need Office 365 application to be installed. So in this case, I have only 2 options. One, I need to procure more license and I need to add it. Otherwise, I need to revoke some licenses from the unused users who are not using that effectively, and I need to allocate to the new users. Okay, let's take the first option. So I wanted to procure more licenses now. So in that case, I'm going to talk to my management team and I'm going to procure more licenses now. So I'm going to install that application using software deployment module on all the other 5 new candidates. And then I will go to this option, click on add more, and I'll be using this option to add more licenses. So if I'm going to add more, I'll click on add more by 5, enter the details, click on save. So once I add more, I'll see the difference here as 24 now. So the managed installations is 19. So I can go ahead and install it, and I will see the remaining count over here. Right. So let's go for the second option. So I don't have an option. So let me remove this for now to explain the other scenario. Right, so I'm removing this now. All right. So this is removed. So now it's still 19. So let's go for the second option. So in this case, my management not decided to procure more licenses for this in this year. So what I need to do is I need to find out who are using this application effectively, right? So in that case, how do I use this asset management tool to find that? So we have an option called software metering to find that option. But first, I need to understand who all are using their application. So if I click on this count 19, it will tell me how many users are using their applications and the computer name and the user names and everything, right? So now I'm going to use a software metering option here in this tool to identify whether the users are using their application efficiently. So for that, I just need to add a rule, define the rule for the Office 365. Right, so I will show you the one which is already have added. Right, so I have added the name here, and I will be adding the executable names that I wanted to monitor. So this is the application. This is the executable responsible for running that specific application for Microsoft. So I need to define that executable here, and I need to update this. So once I define this rule will be updated to all the agents in the next refresh cycle. So agent will start monitoring the executables that I have added here. Similarly, I can add any number of rules here. So all these executables will be monitored by my agent. So how my agent is going to monitor that? Okay. So opening of that exe and closing of that exe will be considered as one single usage. So my agent will trace the usage for a complete day, and by end of the day, it will post the status to the server. So now, if I go to the software metering summary, I'll be able to see the details of it. So this is the overall summary of the usage of that application, usage count and all that. if I click on this discovered count, I'll be able to see the user individual computer name and the usage of it. So here I do find few users who are not even using it, so they have used it maximum of 2. So in this case, I can talk to these users. I can remove these users, remove the application from here using a software deployment, or even you can use this option in the software view. You have an option to remove that application as well. So you can search for an application. If you want to remove it, you click on that application, you select that mission, click on uninstall. So this can also be done over here. So you have 2 options to uninstall it. Right. So now I have revoked the license from it. I have uninstalled the application from the user, and I can install this on the new computer. So this is the first scenario. So this shows about how license management in asset management is helpful. Right. Any questions on this module can be shared in the chat. We will be happy to assist with your queries. All right. So there is one more important thing that I need to share in terms of software metering, which is software metering reports. So this is one sample report where you can export the details about the usage. And similarly, we have recently introduced some latest reports in terms of software metering as well. So here in the report section, in the inventory reports, these are all predefined reports. So if you click on software metering rules, you can see those same report that we have seen before. And but here you have this option, computers with metered software. So here you have an option to set the rule and filter based on the time. So you can set the date and time, and you can filter and export the report to find out the usage between that time frame. And also you have other reports in terms of user. So you can export the report based on the user. So in a computer, multiple users might be using that application. So you can export the report based on the users as well. So that is all about this first module. All right. So let's move on to the next scenario. Right. So controlling bandwidth spikes and removing unauthorized applications. Okay. So let's assume myself as an administrator again. So in my last admin meeting, there was 2 important concerns raised by my network security team. So number one, some considerable amount of bandwidth is being utilized by my users on my organization, and also they have found some unauthorized applications are being used in my network. So as an administrator, it's my responsibility to address this situation. So how do I address the situation with this asset management tool? Right. So with the help of the network security team, I will be able to find out the application responsible for that specific network bandwidth. So I mean a bandwidth spike. And also that application seems to be the unauthorized application. Right. So how do I find it? It's very simple. If I go to reports, I have this option, inventory reports. So here you have this computers with and without specific software. So they have told me that uTorrent is the application which is responsible for all these issues. So I'm searching for that uTorrent on all the computers. So if I don't know the exact name, I can use this option like, and I can export it. All right. So if I want to know the list of computers with that application, I will just type using this option like torrent. It's just a keyword search. I'll just type as torrent. And so now I can see how many users using this specific application. Right. So here we go. Around like 153 users are using this specific application. So that then that is the definite cause of this specific issue that is being reported. So now I need to take necessary action for it. So there are two types of actions that I need to take. One, I need to take an action to remove this application from the users who are using this application, and also I need to prevent them from using it furthermore. So how do I do this? So we have an option here called prohibit software. Okay, so assume that today I have a schedule scan running. So in the schedule scan, I'll go for the scan result. In the software view, I'll be able to see all the softwares identified. So now I can go for this option like search, right? And then I will search for that application. So if I found that application here, I can select that application and I can change the access type as prohibited. For example, I can change the view here to view the list of applications here. Let me refresh this page. Okay, I think it's a browser cache issue. Otherwise, you can also do this way. So you can go to prohibit software option, add prohibit software, search for the torrent application here, and you will be adding that application from the list. So once the applications are added over here, so you will be able to see the number of users using that application. You can click on this directly to view how many users are using that application currently. And similarly, if I wanted to uninstall this using this prohibited software, I can configure the uninstallation silent command. So here I'll be using this option, and here I have two options like pre-filled uninstall commands, or I will have to specify the command myself. So probably you might know about the use of silent switch that is discussed on the software deployment module in previous training. So silent switch is used for automating the uninstallation process in a silent mode. So end user will not be receiving any user interaction window to proceed with the uninstallation or installation. So here we are going to do the uninstallation process. So without knowing, without knowing that the user, we are doing it with the help of the agent. So we are going to use the silent switches over here using this. So I'll be adding the required silent switches, saving this. And this silent switches is mandatory only for the EXE based application. You can check the installer type, whether it is EXE or MSI. If it is an EXE based application, you will have to specify the required silent switches. So this silent switches will be provided by the application vendor, and which varies for the application as well. You need to give that details over here, and then you need to enable this auto uninstallation policy. So you can enable this option to automatically uninstall during the system startup. You can give this count as just 2, because increasing the count more will delay the process of booting on the computer. So because this uninstallation is going to happen on the reboot, so if you're going to increase the number over here, and if the lower number of applications are getting uninstalled, it's going to increase the boot time, and that will be a panic situation for the users. So you can keep that number low as much as possible, and even you can give them a warning message, all right, for 3 days. So this warning message will be shown to the end user, and the end user can take necessary action. So you can customize this message. So whenever user logs into that machine, so machines, the users who are using that prohibited applications will be receiving this pop-up message on the screen. So they can request for a permission to use it. So if they request for a permission to use it, you can add them to the exclusion list and allow them to use it for a while or permanently. And even if you are an administrator and if you have a separate group for administrators, you can add those users to it. So we have 2 ways how we can add the exclusion list. One is through the computer. You can add the individual computers here, or you can also use a custom group. Custom group is another important option in Desktop Center. So custom group is where you can create a separate groupings inside this Desktop Center tool. So you can give a name for this, like sales, and you'll be selecting the domain where the machines are all allocated. You'll be selecting the computers and adding it. So there are different groups that you can create, different types of groups that you can create. So once the group is created, I can exclude this prohibit software option using this custom group option as well. So that's the main advantage over here. Right, and even if I don't want to exclude specific users only for that specific application. If I wanted to create a global exclusion for my IT managers, I can go for a configured global exclusion, and I can create my IT managers group and add them to the exclusion list. So the users falling under this IT managers group will be allowed to use any list of prohibited applications that you might also add in future. So that's the main advantage of this. So now we have seen how prohibited software works practically. So we'll also see how it works in the background. So first, you will be selecting the application which is considered as a prohibited application, and you will be configuring the prohibiting rule. So that's what we have added. So you'll be clicking on add prohibited software, and you'll be adding the software over here. And next, an agent notification will be sent. So that is what you'll be enabling over here. So you will be enabling a notification over here. This notification will be sent to the user. So this is how the notification will be. So every time the user logs in, as per the grace period, which is for 3 days, the end users will be seeing this message. So end users can send a request over here. In the bottom of the page, you have an option to type the email address and send the details over here. The purpose can be sent over here, and they can send a request. So once they send the request will be received over here, the user request. So the administrator can approve or deny this request over here. You can also see the audit history. You can export this as a report for your auditing purpose as well. So once this request is sent, right, end users will be, if the request is approved, end users will be able to use it. If it is denied, then automatically after the grace period, the application will be uninstalled. So this ensures that the users are not using any prohibited applications in your organization. Okay, so let's come to the second scenario. So what if the same user is installing the application once again, right? So in such cases, you can use this option called configure email alert, and you can configure the email alert to the email account and everything. So if any user is installing any prohibited software which is listed here, automatically an email will be triggered to you. So that email will tell you the computer name and the user and the application version that the user is trying to install. So you can easily look at that and take necessary action on it. So that is one important option. Okay, so there are other applications which can be used without even installation as well. So technically, so that applications will not be detected by our software scanning process, and that's the scan. So in that case, is there any option to prohibit that application execution on the client machines as well? Yes, of course, we have those options here, which is called as block executable. So here you need to again add a policy. You need to define the policy to the group users. So if I wanted to prohibit this specific application for all the computers in my organization, I'll go for all computers group, or I can use the custom group that I need, and then I will create this rule based on this. So for example, there are a lot of portable applications like Keylogger and a lot of applications are there in the market, so which might be a threat to my network as well. So in that, in such cases, I will be adding the executable names. And there are two ways actually. One is I will be uploading a sample file, and the hash values of the file will be calculated, and I will save this. So this will be automatically, the agent will automatically prohibiting this exe. So when user is trying to execute this exe, a pop-up message will be visible on the client machine's end. So if I don't know, if I do not have the executable to add this rule based on hash value, I simply use this path, and I just need to add this executable name alone. But there is an advantage in using this hash value. In case if you're using just by the name, user can simply change the name of that executable if he is clever enough, and he can use the same application with a different name. But if you go for this hash value, and if you upload the file, even though the user is going to change the name of that executable, hash values cannot be changed. So agent will block that executable based on the hash value. So that's the main advantage over this particular option. Right. So that is about this specific scenario. So if you have any queries regarding this, you can let us know through chat. All right. So here's the next scenario that I have taken, which is planning for Windows 10 upgrade. Okay, so my organization has decided to upgrade the machines to Windows 10 from the later versions of OS, and they have requested me to generate a report on the applicable machines, the eligible machines in terms of hardware, warranty, and all that. So they have given me few certain criteria. First is like the hardware size has to be more than 100 GB, and the RAM size should be more than 4 GB, and the warranty status and all that. So I, as an administrator, have to generate some report to ensure to find out the eligible machines for the upgrade. Okay, so this can be achieved with the help of the reports, which is available here in this desktop central inventory management. So here, if I go to the report section, I have different types of reports available, especially in the inventory reports. You have these predefined reports. So the reason why I say this is a predefined report is that you don't have to do any customization over here. For example, if I wanted to pull a report based on computers by OS, I click on it, I use the predefined filter, export the report. I can even add a column or remove a column that I need from the list which is available here. So that is an example of the predefined report. Similarly, all these reports that you have seen so far is, that you've seen here is a predefined report. You can simply click on it, export the report. Okay, so I have, based on my hardware requirements, I have a hardware report to check the memory, disk usage, and the warranty details and everything. But these reports are all separate reports, right? I will be exporting around like 4 or 5 reports to check the eligibility. But is there a way that I can collate all those details in one single report and get that as a report? Yes, of course. So that is where you can utilize this option called custom report. So in this report, you have this option to add required filters based on it. For example, I have some predefined criteria based on my organization standards. So these are all the filters that I have created. So physical memory has to be greater than this, and the free space on the device has to be greater than this, and the warranty expiry date has to be greater than this. So then I can choose the columns that I need, and I will export the report. So when I run this report, so this is going to tell me the eligible computers for the upgrade. Okay, but again, I have another critical situation here. So this is just a report which is going to show me the computer details, everything. I only have some predefined columns that I can add and all that. But I also have another requirement here. So the desktop engineers are planning to upgrade the Windows 10 operating system on batches based on department, for example, OUs. Okay, so how do I match these eligible computers with the OU, the computers in the OU, and provide them the list? Right, so that's another important factor. So that's where you can use this option called query report. So query report is very useful for these kind of options. So you can join 2 different tables and you can build any kinds of reports out of this. So that's where you use this query. So you can use any kind of SQL query and you can pull the report. So we'll also offer support in getting that detail for you. Getting that report for you. You can send us a request anytime for any new request, any reports that you need. And of course, I'm just modifying the query that I have already created. So this is a query. I'm going to execute this query. And so this is the report which is going to tell me the eligible computers as well as the department, which is sales, marketing, and all that. So now I can share this to my team. Desktop engineers will take care of the necessary actions on this part. So that is the main thing in terms of reports over here. So other than that, you have options like Active Directory reports. So this is again a read-only report where we will be just fetching the details of it. So you need to just enable AD sync after you add the credentials of the AD here, and AD sync will happen, and the details of the computer's OU and everything, the basic information will be fetched by the desktop center server during the sync, and everything will be available here as a predefined report. You can just click on this, you can export this as well. And apart from this, all these reports are a manual report. So even if I wanted to pull a USB usage report, I can export this as a report manually. And similarly, if I wanted to know who has logged in, who has not logged into the computers and everything, power management report, everything can be easily exported here. But apart from that, is there a way to schedule and automatically receive a report? Yes, you have this option called scheduled report. So here you have the option to select even multiple reports. So I can select multiple reports that have to be sent to me on a specific time. And I have this option to select multiple recipients as well, and the subject and the content of it. So I can schedule the frequency of getting these reports to be. So I can schedule this, set what type of format that I need this report onto and everything. And even for certain reports, we have a real-time filter option that you can set. You can give a name here and you can set the filters for it. So when the report is getting generated tomorrow morning or based on the schedule, automatically the report will be filtered based on the settings that you set here, and only the filtered data will be sent to your email. So that is all about the reports. And so now we have seen about what are all the reports and how we can use it for any activities on your organization. Right. Let's move on to the next scenario. All right. So these are all the topics that we discussed on this module. So let's move on to the next scenario, which is proactively resolving hard disk space issues. So this is one common issue that you might face in all IT organizations. So what are the options available in Desktop Center to prevent this proactively? Okay, of course. First is the alerts. So in the inventory section, you have an option called configure email alert. So of course, every scan will detect the hard disk size occupied and everything over there. So with the help of this alert, you can trigger an alert for the disk space utilization. So you can set the threshold value and you can get the report. Not only for that, even for the license usage, you can set the threshold and you can get a report. So even for installation of software or uninstallation of a software, similarly addition of a new hardware, removal of a hardware from a machine, everything can be triggered as an email report. In case if you have integrated this tool with ManageEngine's ticketing solution, which is Service Desk Plus, a ticket will be automatically generated on your Service Desk Plus as well. So that can also be configured over here. Right. So by this way, you can easily get an alert about the disk space usage. There is another method as well. So in the report section, so you have an option to proactively monitor the disk usage by the report. The disk usage report is also there available in the inventory reports. So you can easily monitor the disk usage report over here. You can set the criteria and automatically the report will be sent to your email. So that is also an option for you. Okay, so now that I have identified that there is a disk utilization problem there on the machines and all that. So how do I proactively take necessary actions behind it? So there are different options available. In the configurations, you have an option to add an option to warn the end users themselves to clean up the files when the threshold is going to reach. So you can also enable the purge temp file options over here. So this is a basic option available. And the advanced option is available here in the tools section. In the tools section, you have system tools. In the system tools, you have an option like add task. So you can define what type of task that I want to do. For example, if it is just a disk cleanup, I'll use this option. So here I can customize what type of details that I can clean up on this machine. So only the temporary files, or just the cache files, or cache and the browser files. Everything can be defined over here, and I can set the targets. Targets can be set to the entire domain or to the specific remote offices, or even to the specific computer or a specific OU or the machine-based based on IP address ranges. So once this is all defined, so I will be just defining the scheduler option. So you don't have to manually execute the job all the time. You can just schedule it based on the condition. Automatically, this job is going to clear up the space for you. So this is another important factor in the asset management. Right. So now we have come to end of this scenarios that we discussed. So let's move on to the next section, which is scenarios and solutions. So as a support technician, I have come across few common scenarios, which is interesting, right? So we will discuss about few of those here. First scenario, I want to add additional information about my computer to the asset data. Is this possible? Yes, of course, this is possible. So like I said before, in the inventory scan, normally all basic data about the hardware, software, system information will be collected over here, and you can see all those information listed over here. But if I wanted to add some additional data like some comments, some location details of the user and all that, floor and all that, so I can use this option called custom, add custom field. So I can click on add custom field. I can define a field name like floor or a department or whatever it could be. So I can define what view that it has to view. It has to be on a computer view or a software view. So predominantly it has to be on the computer view. So you can enable that as a personal information column as well, if that is going to include any personal information. So that when you export a report, you can mask this personal information. So even here you have this option to select what type of input that you're going to give and the size and everything. So once these are all configured, you can input the details over here. So you can do this through this bulk input option. So in the admin, in the scope of management, you have this option so here you have this option to import the custom field data. So here you can use the simple sample files and you can easily upload the data to it. So that's another easier way of uploading it. All right. So that's the answer to this question. I mean, the scenario, yes, it is feasible. All right. And scenario number 2, we have an IT policy of decommissioning the systems every year. So how do I get the list of those computers? Right. All right. So I trust that we already discussed about the scenario. So here in the report section, you have this option of getting the warranty details about the computer. So soon to expired warranty, and undefined warranty. So here, with the help of the agent itself, we will be detecting the warranty details of the computer. So agent will fetch the computer details, serial number and everything. The server which will fetch the warranty details by contacting the vendor website of that hardware. And we will, based on that, we will export different kinds of report out of it. You can also customize different kinds of reports over here. So this is one thing. Right. Of course, the next option, next scenario is shared directories with write access is a security threat. So can we identify them? Yes, of course. So here in the report section, again, you have this option called share details. So in this, you'll be able to see the computer name and the shares created on each of those and the permissions given to that share. So you can export this report, use it for audit purpose, and you can remove the unwanted shares of it. Yeah. Scenario number 4. So Dropbox is installed at the user level and would like to get the list of computers that have it installed. How do I identify it? Right. So Dropbox is one good example for the user-based application. So this application will be installed on the user profile. So I can go to this report called user-specific report. Yeah. So in the report, user-specific software. So this will tell you the application name and the user who has using this application. So this is the user name who is using that application and all that. So summary view and detailed view both are available here for you. All right. So that is available here.
So scenario number 5, I want to identify the computers with local administrator account. Is this possible? Yes, of course, this is also possible with the help of the reports here. So in the predefined report section, you have this option called system group users. So here you can set the condition to only filter the users with administrator, computers with administrator privileges, and you can export the report. So you can see the domain to which this computer belongs to, and you can see this group name and the users who are having this administrator privilege. So that is also feasible here. Right. So next we'll move on to the question section. So here we're going to discuss about few frequently asked questions quickly. So number 1, do we need to install both Asset Explorer agent and the Desktop Central agent in all systems? We are having Service Desk Plus with System Tools plugin. Yeah, of course. So like I said before, Asset Explorer is one such feature integrated with the Service Desk Plus tool, which also has some asset management functionalities in it. So in case if you're using both these tools here, you can directly integrate with this Desktop Central, and with the help of the Desktop Central agent itself, you can manage both these tools, right? So you don't have to install separate agent for Asset Explorer or for Service Desk Plus, right? So that's an advantage over here. And question number 2, when you add a program to the prohibited software list, does it take all the versions of the softwares into account? Do I need to update the prohibited software list? New version is released. I think we discussed about the same already. So in this option, manage licenses, you have an option called group software. So here you're simply going to add the name of the group and add all the different versions of the same application, and you can also add the wildcard character in that group. So in case if the user is going to install a different version of the same application, all those can be prohibited directly by adding them in as a prohibited group. So that's feasible. So you can prohibit them as a group as well. So number 3, in the inventory report of a computers without specific software, how to specify filter criteria and schedule them. Okay. Yeah. So in the schedule reports, like we discussed before, you can select the report, you set the filter over here, you give a name like test, you set the columns, set the criteria, and set the date. I mean, based on the criteria, the options will vary. You can also add multiple filters over here, and you can define it. So this is how you can add filters. Specifically, as per the question, so in case if you wanted to filter the report for the computers without specific softwares, I can go to this, select this option. Software name, I can set the criteria like torrent or any other application name that I can specify, save the filter name, and I can schedule this job. So that is also feasible. All right. So question number 4, does Desktop Central detect what software is installed on each machine, and if it is licensed? Does it have the ability to detect the product key of each software licenses? Yes, of course. Desktop Central will detect the license key of few allowed softwares, because most of the application vendors are hiding their license keys in the registry values, which is not supposed to be disclosed. So for the applications that Desktop Central can detect the product key, that will be detected over here. And even in the latest versions of Desktop Central, we are also detecting the activation status of that operating system here. So if you click on the computer, you can see that whether the OS is licensed and activated. So you can see the status over here. Right. So question number 5, how can we identify the security status of the machines in my network? Of course, yes, here, like we discussed before, in this option, you have security tab, where you will be able to explore security related details, whether the BitLocker is enabled or not, antivirus is available there, what version of antivirus is there, what is the manufacturer, installation path, and everything. Even firewall status can be exported as a report over here. So even the reports, you'll be able to see those reports to export for multiple computers. So antivirus status, BitLocker details, firewall details, and everything can be exported in the form of report. So that is also feasible. So last question, in case of any issues with the drivers in the machine, how can I identify the same? So like I said, in the inventory scan, you have this option to enable the driver scan. So if you enable this driver scan, you will be able to see the driver details and you can see the status of the drivers on each computer status as well. You can easily monitor that. All right. So now we have come to the end of this today's training session. Hope you all enjoyed the training. Hope it was informative. So if you guys like the training, please do rate us on the scale of 1 to 5, whereas 5 is the best. And if you like the training, you can also share your thoughts in the social media using these hashtags and taglines. And we also going to conduct the next training session on the remote control, which is for the next Wednesday. So training schedule is there on your screen. You can also attend this training. And in case if you like to schedule a personalized demo to understand more about this, you can send the request using this below link, or you can let the technicians in the chat know that you're interested in the demo. We'll be happy to schedule this demo for you. All right. Okay, and we are also having EMS World Tour, and we are conducting a lot of workshops and seminars all over the world. So here are the few locations that in where we'll be conducting the workshops and seminars: Singapore, Indonesia, Riyadh, and Johannesburg. So in case if you're nearby, you can utilize this and you can understand more about ManageEngine. All right. So hope this was informative again. Thank you all once again for your patience and time, spending your time in your busy schedule, and have a very great day. Thank you.